Another weekday, another common knowledge episode where we are looking at some Pauper legal Magic the Gathering cards and telling you if they are good for the Pauper format or if they're just common. We'll start off with Erosion. It is blue, blue, blue for an enchantment aura, and you enchant a land with this. At the beginning of the upkeep of Enchanted Lands... At the beginning of the upkeep of Enchanted Lands controller, destroy that land unless that player pays 1 generic or 1 life. 1 mana or 1 life. That's really bad. I think almost, at least in the early game, everybody's just going to pay the single life. And it can't be that early in the game because this costs 3 blue to even put on the battlefield in the first place and do nothing else on your turn, by the way. And then in a later game when somebody has a bunch of mana anyway, and they're probably getting to the later part of the game because they're only paying 1 life a turn, who cares? They'll just start paying the mana, and then this feels really useless. This is a bad Magic card. This needs to say 2, and this needs to say 2, and even then it would still be a bad Magic card. Boy. What do you give Erosion? I'm going to give it... I'm going to give it a 1. This is really, really bad. All colored pips. That's rough. I do not play this card. Let's keep on moving to Alpine Meadow. We have not done these yet, but we've done similar ones, I think. Have we actually done the tapped duels? Or the tapped duels with basic land types? Because these are basically the same, but these are also snow lands. So if you're playing Scred, or if you're playing a couple of other things that care about snow lands, or snow permanents to begin with, these are pretty good. But more often than not, these are just good because they are fetchable duels. You can use your land cycler guys, your Troll of Khazad-dûn, go search for, well, in this case, it's a Mountain Plains, but so your Oliphant. You can mountain cycle your Oliphant. You can go find an Alpine Meadow, and now you've got a dual land, basically, at any point that you need it. They're good. They're good. I guess I give them slightly better than the non-snow duels, but only slightly because there are so few snow cards or so few snow strategies in Pauper. Not 0 though, so they do get a little bit better. I'm going to give these... Man, what do you give these? I think I'd give like the regular tap duel with basic land types. I'd give those like a 7.8, so I'll give these a 7.9. These are quite good. Doomblade. Oh, hell yeah. God, Doomblade. Doomblade's great. What a great Magic card. You know, it's become a meme at this point that everything just dies to Doomblade. I'll tell you what's really interesting for somebody like me is I was playing Magic before 2010. So Terror's my card. Like that's the one. That's the 2 mana black instant that kills a creature. That's the one I know. But then they made it even better. Terror, you can't destroy artifact creatures or black creatures, and this one is just non-black creatures. So it's better. It's better than Terror. But back in my day, we had Terror and we liked it. So cool that they made a better Terror. But even now, Doomblade is kind of been powered out of the format, and it's weird to say. There's just other black spells in Pauper. You're generally going to go for Cast Down because that says non-legendary creature, and there's only a smattering of legendary creatures, and only very recently, and none that you particularly need to play in Pauper. There's a couple that are okay. So you just end up playing 4 Cast Downs instead of Doomblades. But I mean, Doomblade's still never a bad card. I think this is more or less always going to be Pauper playable, even if it's not necessarily the most picked option. But Doomblade should absolutely sneak into sideboards every once in a while, especially if you're in like a mono black and you've already got your cast downs. You might have your snuff outs. You probably have your snuff outs, but you want a couple more kill spells. Doomblade's pretty good. Takes out a lot of stuff. Doomblade, I'm gonna give a 6. I can't give it any less than a 6. It's Doomblade. Doomblade's great. Next up is Ritual of Restoration. For a single white mana, you get a sorcery that says, I didn't even read Doomblade. Because it's Doomblade. Everybody kind of knows what Doomblade does. It's 1 in a black for an instant, destroy target non-black creature. That's it. That's all it needs to be. Doomblade. That's great. Ritual of Restoration is a single white mana for a sorcery. Return target artifact card from your graveyard to your hand. That's not too bad, honestly. It's been powered out of Pauper at this point because you have this from Modern Horizons 3. Jolted Awake does that's a target artifact or a creature card, and then you get the energy. So, but I think you always get to. No, I guess this is different. I thought you always got to put at least this into your hand, but if you had the energy, you got to put it on the battlefield. That's not true. That's not true. So Ritual of Restoration still technically has a bit of a place. That being said, I don't think you generally play this card. It's just, even at 1 mana, it's not enough of an effect to really be worthy of taking up a slot in your deck. I suppose it's possible if you have a very artifact-heavy strategy and you need very specific artifacts to come back on the battlefield. Maybe. But I don't think Pauper really has that. At least not at the moment. But I think this is a generally solid effect. And for that, I don't want to give it too bad of a score. I'm going to give this like a 4.6. Yeah, I think a 4.6 is just fine in this instance. Merfolk Looter. I feel like we've done Merfolk Looter. Have we not? Did we do Looter Ilcore instead? We'll just do Looter here. It's another classic card. For 1 and a blue, you get a 1/1 Merfolk Rogue. It can tap to draw a card, and then you discard a card. It's called looting. I'm pretty sure we call it looting because of Merfolk Looter, or maybe it's the other way around. But I feel pretty comfortable. Yeah, like all the way back here in Exodus, I feel pretty comfortable saying that Merfolk Looter, that we call it looting because of Merfolk Looter. This is fine. It's a fine card. I think we've got slightly better options than this these days. But looting is a solid ability to do. You could be in a strategy that wants to put cards in the graveyard. You could just want the nice filtering of being able to get a slightly better card into your hand. It's good. I feel like we've said this a lot today. Doomblade, the rest of the Ritual, it's like these are all perfectly fine, solid Magic cards, and I think they all get similar kinds of scores. I'll give this like a 4.8. It's good. What more do you want from me? Luxodon Anchorite is 2 and a white for a 2/3 Elephant Cleric. You can tap it to prevent the next 2 damage that would be dealt to any target this turn. So could be a creature, could be yourself, could be. It can't be a planeswalker. There are no common planeswalkers, but you could use this on a lot of things. That's all right. 4 mana for a 2/3, not great. I mean, the three toughness does keep this around at least a little bit more. Somebody has to like lightning bolt this. You can't just shock it. Preventing 2 damage can really slow the game down in a useful way for a kind of control-y deck like this. 4 mana is a little expensive. But you can do some messed up combat stuff with this of, an opponent thinks they're going to get in for damage and you're going to negate some of that damage, or you get to block with something and then you get to negate 2 of the damage that's happening to your creature, so maybe your creature survives. It makes for a lot of weird combat math. In fact, I think Wizards agrees at this point that it's kind of just not worth it. That it's an effect that makes the game slower and less fun, so they've kind of taken out preventing damage from something that white gets to do anymore. And and they kind of just stopped printing it altogether. But it's an interesting effect. I don't think this is the best version of it. I think I can give this a 2.9. 2.9, and we move on. Move on to Necromancer's Assistant, which is 2 and a black for a 3/1 zombie. When this creature enters, you mill 3 cards. So it's kind of like a Stitcher Supplier, but only kind of. Costs way more than a Stitcher Supplier, has a lot more power than a Stitcher Supplier, and doesn't do anything when it dies. But other than that, kind of, if you squint, kind of like a Stitcher Supplier. It's not very good. that's a lot of mana to throw into a 3/1 just to mill a few cards. I think you have better. I guess if you wanted to play a black reanimator deck and you didn't or a dredge kind of deck and you didn't want to splash green, you could play something like this, but I wouldn't. There's like it's like an Outlaws of Thunder Junction card that's a 2/2 that mills 2 cards when it comes into play and has lifelink. I'd play that over this. Yeah, I don't know. I don't really like this. And also, if you are in kind of a dredge deck, you probably want the green, so you can play the satyrs and the village, the town greeters. Sorry, not the village greeters, town greeters. Like there's cards you want from the green. So I don't think Necromancer's Assistant is very good. I think even the decks that would want it don't want this. They want something different. I'll end up giving this a 1.6. 3 mana is a lot. 3 mana is a lot there. It's Omega Mirror. This isn't a very good card, but I love it. You've gotten a lot of Mirrodin block cards today. Omega Mirror is 2 mana for a 1/2 artifact creature that's a mirror. Last to charge, last to fall. This is complemented by Alpha Mirror, which is a 2 mana artifact mirror, but it's 2/1 instead. And I think it's like first to charge, first to glory or something. Is that right? Alpha Mirror. First to fight. Damn, it's close. Anyway, Omega Mirror. You'd probably prefer the power over the toughness. So Alpha Mirror would be better than Omega Mirror. You wouldn't play either of them though. They are not particularly great cards. But man, I love Mirror, and I do remember loving these 2 cards quite a bit, and wanting to make a deck with them, and then realizing, wow, these cards are kind of bad. We'll give Omega Mirror a very generous 1.4, and it does not deserve it, but we'll do it anyway. Kavu Recluse is 2 and a red for a 2/2 Kavu. You can tap it, and target land becomes a forest until end of turn. I'm trying to think of why you ever need this, and the only answers I'm really coming up with is, okay, I can come up with 3 answers, and I don't think any of them are. I think one of them is okay, and the other 2 are pretty bad. So let's start with the okay one first. Land walk abilities. If you have something with forest walk, and I imagine there's a decent amount of stuff with forest walk at common, making one of your opponent's lands into a forest allows you to swing in unblocked. It's pretty good. Although this is a red card to do that, so you have to be playing both red and green, because generally the things with forest walk are also in green, so you're gonna have to splash red in here for that. I don't think this is good enough to necessarily do that, but that is the quote unquote good reason here. One of the bad reasons is Utopia Sprawl is an enchantment that can only target forests. It's an aura that goes on a forest, and it allows you to spend. You get an extra mana of any color when you tap that land, and that at least I think it stays on, right? Because I know if like if you put an enchantment on a creature and then that creature doesn't become something that's not a creature anymore, I think the enchantment falls off. I could be wrong. Maybe it just has to be a creature when it gets the enchantment on it. I think that could be right. So I think the Utopia Sprawl does stay on. Somebody let me know in the comments, but I think the Utopia Sprawl would stay on even if the land reverted to being an island or whatever. But you could put this on your own mountain, I guess. You tap it, make your mountain into a forest, you play Utopia Sprawl on your mountain, and now you can get that extra bonus mana without actually having to play a forest. That's a pretty bad reason. You should just play a forest. Utopia Sprawl is generally played with forests, so this is kind of an unnecessary card for that. And the other one I could think of is can I even think of it? Maybe I just forgot it completely. I'll tell you, it was bad though. whatever that third reason was, it was pretty bad. If I remember during this, I'll tell you, but it was pretty bad. Anyway, this card is also pretty bad. It's 3 mana for a 2/2 that has an ability you'll basically never use. The third reason was to stop your opponents, was to like turn one of their lands into a forest. And I guess, sure, you could turn one of their dual lands. Maybe they've got like a gate or an Azorius. Actually, a gate's not a bad idea, because like a gate, it turns it into a forest. It's no longer a gate. So, you turn their Basilisk Gate into a forest. Well, now they can't pump their creature with Basilisk Gate. Or even like a dual land, you try to turn their dual land into just a forest. Now they can only tap for the one color of mana that might not even be one of the colors they need. The problem with that is, unless you're doing this at their upkeep, which I guess you could do, generally they're going to have an opportunity to say, okay, well, in response, I'll just tap that land for the color of mana I wanted it to be, and then I play my spells. Doing it at their upkeep or on their draw step or something like that makes it a little awkward for them to have to use the mana then or lose it. But I think you're splitting hairs, and you're also losing out on the 2 damage you could have done by swinging. It's bad. It's bad. I think having this card in your deck makes you play your deck worse. Like, makes you play Magic the Gathering worse. And that's what's really offensive about a card like this. I've spent way too much time on it. We're going to give it a 1.5, I guess, and we'll move on to Agility, which is 1 in a red for an enchantment aura that enchants a creature. Enchanted creature gets +1/+1 and has flanking. Flanking, for those who don't know, is whenever a creature without flanking blocks this creature, the blocking creature gets -1/-1 until end of turn. So if your opponent tries to block your creature with a 1/1 and you've got flanking, their 1/1 just dies before blocks even happen, because they get the -1/-1 before you even have the opportunity to go to combat, or the opportunity to actually do the damage step. So flanking's kind of cool. It's not on a ton of cards. They've phased flanking out more or less completely at this point. I like a card that gives something flanking. It's kind of like giving one of your... I mean, it actually does give your creature the +1/+1 too. So it's a kind of 2-point swing. It's giving your creature +2/+2 forever for 2 mana in red. I don't know. I kind of like it. I don't really see a deck for it. You wouldn't really put this in a Bogle's deck, because one, you don't need the red color in there, the red splash. This isn't good enough to take over any of the auras that are already in the Selesnya Bogle's deck. And 2, I think when you're in Bogle's, you kind of don't worry that your opponent's going to block. So who cares? The flanking's a little unnecessary there. It's still okay. I'm going to give this like a 3.6, 3.7 almost. Yeah, I'll give this a 3.7. And we'll round things out with a bonus card. Elfheim Worm. It's 4 and a green for a 5/4 worm. It's got vigilance and trample. Man, this probably is not all that good of a card, but I do like worms. I especially like this kind of Dominaria style worm with like the teeth that go all around the mouth. You see it in Roar of the Worm too. Yeah, look at that guy. Look at that toothy boy. So I like that design of worm. I have a whole worms commander deck because I just love this creature type so much. 5/4 vigilance trample is not the worst set of stats on a creature like this, but there's just generally better green cards that you would play. Especially like at 5 mana, you're playing Avenging Hunter, right? Like just so look at this card. 5/4 vigilance trample for 5 mana, or 5/4 trample, so you lose the vigilance, but you take the initiative. Initiative's just really good. It gets you so many things. Gets you it gets you a basic land. It gets you some +1/+1 counters. It can make your opponent lose 5 life. You just get to do so much more with this, and you basically get the same creature. No, you don't get the vigilance, but I think the stuff you get over Elfane Worm makes Avenging Hunter just a better card in general, and this kind of just ends up sitting on the sidelines. Love the art though. Good job, Victor. But not particularly great. We'll give this a 2.6. And I think that's all for today. We'll catch you next time on Common Knowledge. Bye.